So I was actually going to run the MCU update and the software update, but one of the things that mentioned is like if the unit is installed and everything's working as far as Bluetooth and the AC, and probably don't want to mess with any of that stuff. So I'm glad I checked that, because I was about to just do all that stuff assuming that I needed to. So I checked the Bluetooth and I was able to connect my iPhone to the Bluetooth, and plays really well. One thing that I did notice, I was able to play the Bluetooth. It's connected to my iPhone. Play the music, and it sounded really good. But one adjustment you can make is the equalizer, I've heard, because it sounded like a lot of bass was happening. So I turned that down just a little bit. I don't think I needed to mess with that. But while I was in here, I noticed that it has the left, right, front, rear speaker check. So I wanted to check that, because this is a used truck, so I wanted to make sure all the speakers were working. So when I did the front, left and right, it worked just like you would expect it to. It isolated that speaker and played just out of that. But when I moved it to the rear and I did the right and the left, it didn't play any music whatsoever. So what I did was I put it back to the center and the front and the balance 0. And I did go back to each speaker, and I did hear output coming out from the back speakers. Just that when you go back to the rear with this setup, it doesn't actually send that signal back there to those. So that was kind of weird, but I was freaking out a little bit. But when it is set to the balance 0, it is actually outputting sound from those speakers. So right now I've tested my air conditioning. The knob up here controls it. These over here control the settings. It's reading out in the right temperature and degrees. The air conditioning is reacting. It's turning on and off. I had to go in and change the setting under the advanced settings. Mine's 3.6 is 3.8. Okay. To Tundra high up here. It was on Tundra low, and none of the air conditioning stuff was working when it did that. So when I changed it to Tundra high, and I scrolled all the way to the bottom and hit save and reboot. Once it rebooted, the air conditioning system came up and was working and responding as expected. So it even pulled up, before it didn't show all my, the Platinum comes with heating and air, cooling, and all this dual auto, all these things changed once I moved it over to Tundra high, and it is working fine. So I have working Bluetooth, the sound is really good, and I have working air conditioning and heat. So I'm not gonna do my MCU update. Oh, one thing I wanted to show, because I wasn't sure if this, or I wanted to just put this in here. System information, I think it was actually system info here. It does show that I am on, the MCU version is 860C KYWE 156. OS version is from August 18th, 2018. So there's my setup. But so right now I'm not gonna do the MCU update, because it seems to me that everything is actually working as it should. So more to come as I drive around and play with some other stuff. We'll see how it goes.